Hello everybody, today we're gonna look at this. Claude is an Electron app because we have lost native, so it's in response to another article. But this article, it argues that Claude, even though we are using AI and programming should be free now since AI can write everything for us, we are still using Electron apps that are quite inefficient. So you should think that, why not write everything in native code now when we have AI and they can just do it for us or for almost no charge at all. So why are we not doing it? And here this author argues that it's because native APIs are so poor and the web APIs are the only common ground that exists on all platforms. So we're gonna take a look at this. Here he references another article which talks about this Claude experiment that they did with implementing a C compiler in Rust using only Claude. But then Claude themselves, the desktop Claude app, why is that an Electron app? Code is free, why aren't all apps native? So here we see the response, and then argues that the answer is that LLMs are not good enough yet. They can do 90% of the work, so there's still a substantial amount of manual polish and thus increased costs. But I think that's not the real reason. The real reason is native has nothing to offer. API-wise, native apps lost to web apps a long time ago. Native APIs are terrible to use, and OS vendors use everything in their power to make you not want to develop native apps for their platform. That explains the rise of Electron before LLM times, but it's also a problem that LLMs solve now. If that was a real barrier to developing native apps, it doesn't exist anymore. As we can see here, he agrees that Electron rise in popularity, even before LLMs. So it has nothing to do with LLMs, and that was to fix a problem. But now when we have LLMs, this barrier shouldn't exist anymore with developing native apps. And that's the thesis. Then there are looks and consistency. Some time ago, maybe in the late 90s or 2000s, native was ahead. It used to look good, it was consistent, and it all actually worked. The more apps used native look and feel, the better user experience was across apps, which we used to call programs. These days, though, native is as bad as the web, if not worse. Consistency is basically out of the window. Anything can look like anything, buttons have no borders, contrast doesn't exist, and neither do conventions. Apple, for example, seems to place traffic lights and corner radiuses by vibes rather than by any measurable guidelines. And here we can see some examples with all windows look differently. Looks could be good, but they also can be bad. And then you're stuck with platform consistent but generally bad UI, like liquid glass, for example. It changes too often too. The apps you made today will look out of place next year when Apple decides to change look and feel yet again. There's no native look anymore. Just to keep up with all look and feels on all different platforms, and they keep changing. It's just a lot of work just to be able to do that. Here we have examples of how it has looked on Windows with this look and feel, and then it was this, and later this. So every few years it changes. Theoretically, native apps can integrate with OS on a deeper level. This sounds nice, but what does that mean in practice? There are almost no good interoperable file formats. Everything is locked inside individual apps. Most services moved to the web, and OS has dropped the ball for making a good shared baseline. You can integrate with OS-provided calendar, but you can't do it with web calendar. Well, you can, of course, but it's easier on the web. Native doesn't help with that at all. And here we continue. Finally, the last hope of people longing for native is performance. They feel that native apps will be faster. Well, that can be, but it doesn't mean they will. Web apps can be faster too, but in practice nobody cares. There's no technical reason why Slack needs to load 80 megabytes just to show 10 channel names and 3 messages on a screen. The web is not the problem here, it's a choice to be bad. What makes you think it will be different once the company decides to move to native? So this horrendous RAM usage, it's not only because of being a web app. You just don't load 80 megabytes out of nowhere. It's a conscious decision. You could optimize even if it's web development, just showing some data on the screen. It doesn't just balloon out into this. I agree with this point. If they wanted to optimize, they could do it already. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily become better just because it's native. Don't get me wrong, writing this brings me no joy. I don't think web is a solution either. I just remember good times when native did a better than average job, and we were all better for using it. And it saddens me that these times have passed. I just don't think that kidding ourselves that the only problem with software is Electron, and it will all be butterflies and unicorns once we rewrite Slack in Swift UI is not productive. The real problem is lack of care and the slop. You can build it with any stack. Yeah, I agree a lot with this, even though like I am like leaning towards that native camp. I think that maybe would be better, but I agree, like with all different platforms, it's like impossible or just so much a headache. Even if you're using AI and it can write everything for you, like why would you like have one Linux native code base and then you have Windows and Mac and iOS and Android and web. Yeah, why have all that hassle when you can have one code base? And yeah, why try to keep up with all these changing UI interfaces and liquid glass and all of that? Just make one code base and make it web based, and then it can be deployed everywhere. Yeah, maybe it will use some more resources, but people don't care. And yeah, you don't need to do this Slack example and balloon your app out into this amount. So yeah, you can still optimize it a bit. And many successful apps like Discord and Visual Studio Code and Slack and so on, yeah, they are like Electron or something similar. So it seems to be like a quite successful format, regardless of what we think and wished for. But yeah, it seems like that's just where we are, sadly.